Hey, everybody out there at YouTube. PWROn Gaming here. Myself, Jeese, Jesse, Jeese, however you want to pronounce it, James, and my good friend, Nick the Greek Geek, coming in to bring you the greatest Toxin clips we could find from our other PWROn team members. Now, Toxin's a brand new card. Just came out probably about last week by the time you're watching this. And he has the text on reveal. Return your other cards here to your hand, plus 2 power for each return. Nick, how you feeling about Toxin? How do you feel about being here today?
I am thrilled to be here again with you, GC. I would want no one else as a co-host. You are my hero, and I appreciate everything that you do. As far as how I feel about Toxin, I've been trying to play a bit of Toxin over the last couple of days, and it's fine. You know, last week we did Scorn, and with Scorn, there was a pure, like, this card is busted. This card is a defining card for discard. This Toxin is a fine card. It works well in bounce, but the question is it necessary?
Yeah, no, I tend to agree, right? Like, obviously, returning cards to your hand, bounce mechanic. It's right there in the name. Return the cards to your hand. We know what it's all about. But like, after coming off of a week of Scorn, Scorn, where this card stole a deck slot in your discard deck. Like, is Beast really moving over for Toxin?
Yeah.
Not necessary, but it can be there. And I do like the lower cost, right?
Yep.
I think that gives you a little bit more, maybe some kind of Sarah bounce lives where Toxin's only a 1 cost or something. I don't know. I think like it's definitely not meta defining. It's definitely not here to change the world. But if you're a bounce player, if you really enjoy bounce and that's just the bee's knees for you in Marvel Snap, I mean, how many other bounce mechanic options do you have out there? You might as well pick up all the tools in your toolkit. There's not that many of them.
It might be worth gambling some keys on, but don't gamble unless you have 4 keys. But I don't know if it's worth the 6,000 tokens. That's the tough thing. Like, how can you justify 6,000 tokens? That's a lot now, and you don't get tokens like you used to. So what I would recommend is, watch these videos, watch a couple other creators that are going to be posting their Toxin decks, and make an informed decision. You've got some time. This will go up before the card rotates out. So take a look at the videos, give it some time. Don't rush to buying cards. I've always suggested to people, just hold off. Let everyone else make poor financial decisions and determine whether the card is good or not. But
learn from them. Absolutely.
Sorry.
When it comes down to deciding whether or not a card's for you, here's some clips. We're gonna go into them. I think you were about to get into this, Nick. They're not the same kind of exciting clips as Scorn, because Toxin is not the big finisher move. It's not the big exciting card, that Scorn was. But watch these clips, watch some other great YouTube commentary and creators out there. Watch the streams of your new cards. And you got to answer that question. Is it worth it to you? Does it bring joy to you to potentially own this card? Because also just remember how quickly OTAs change, right? What's up with Storm now, right? OTAs come in, changes happen all the time. So Toxin's mechanic is being a bounce card. That's what we know about it. A year from now, will Toxin be a 2/1 that gets +2? Will this card be joyful for you?
Does this spark joy? And if it doesn't, take it from your sock drawer and toss it in the trash, or just don't spend the resources on it. And one thing again that I want to stress, we are showing highlights here. So these are the cherry picked clips. What I can tell you is we had fewer of these than we did with Scorn. Some of that is due to the basic mechanics of it, but some of it is just due to the fact that it's a harder card to make work. Bounce is not an easy mechanic. If you are a player that bleeds bounce, somebody like Glazer, maybe this is the perfect card for you. But let's get into it. The first video that we've got is from amazing Tucker, and we can give it a watch. So looks like this one I loved because the gladiator yeets down the beast, which pulls the Toxin back up.
That's nice.
Yep.
That's like one of the dreams I feel with the Toxin card, is like to be able to use beast on Toxin, but it's just so rare to actually happen, and our opponent does it for us here.
Yep. Sure, he loses his 5 power beast, but I don't know if that's too much of a concern with what he's doing here.
Yeah,
Like this
being
is
able
this
to
is crazy what he's gonna
Because they
hit here.
do
with
a
this.
lot of like.
Your goal is to try and keep those cards off the board if you can.
yeah.
Where I say is Falcon worth in this
So
list?
we shall see.
And this is one of the places I feel for Toxin, right? Like if Gladiator were to pulled and destroyed Beast and we didn't have Toxin also in a deck, what are we returning with? Falcon? Well, what if I have 2 cost cards down, right?
Yep.
Like I think it's good that it exists as an extra tool for bounce, but that's a 214.
Yep,
It
that's
can
pretty
get big. It can get there.
It dies to Shadow King. It dies to Shang-Chi when it gets that big. But then the question is, are you going to get it that big? Because the other question is, what cards can bring it back? You can use Grandmaster to double it. You can use Beast to bring it back. But outside of that, after you've done that, that puts a cap on it to a large degree. But we've got the famous Super Tech God again. I will cue this one up. So he's got his Sage deck. What's interesting is he's also playing Shadow King. And I love the Shadow King right before he drops his 7 power Rocket Raccoon.
Oh yeah.
Gambit, if it's
Yeah,
Gambit.
Hit Monkey deck is where I really see this doing amazing in.
Yeah, see,
going to
like
use-
this is possible because Toxin has been played, right? But he's not the exciting piece of the card. He is a stepping stone to your bacon, egg, and cheese finale.
Egg and cheese.
Took the words right out of Tech's mouth. But yeah, like this is a good example of a good play, but is that enough? But it was for him in that game. What I will say is Fothor's that's coming up later, he posted a video about this. It was loss after loss after loss for him. I think it is very much a wait and see card. We'll take a look at Father's clips. This was the one win that he posted at the end of his video as well. So just keep that in mind. This was his big win.
All right, no Sage for me.
Trying to find where the limbo came in. Was that a naturally occurring limbo?
I think
No
so.
magic in sight. Those are rare.
Yep. And
I mean, I guess they're
it's-
not as rare as like Fogwell's Gym, but you know.
King were absolutely toast.
See, now the interesting thing about
Double
this-
cannonball action.
Yep.
Oh, oh, oh. I like where his own Shadow King destroys the werewolf. Oh my goodness. Nice win, Fothor.
Right. And it's fascinating because if that was played differently from the opponent and they had Shadow Kinged first and then cannonballed,
Yeah.
they would have won. So that was a situation that even though everything that Newman did was perfect, like he did the best that he could in that gameplay, and it came down to a misplay from the opponent. And that's hard. But again, not everybody's going to constantly be playing Shadow King. Why did Shadow King get a buff? Did Shadow King need a buff? This was the win. And it was just fighting uphill before that. And just loss after loss. So maybe it doesn't fit in with something like a werewolf mechanic. Maybe it needs to be in more a traditional, let's just pull the cards back up and pop them down and pull them back up. We're going to move off to Lufku next, who had a bit of fun.
Mystical K.
So they're copying their Iron Man. So this is a copy of an Iron Man on
On a Gamma Lab, yeah.
a Gamma Lab.
Yeah, a little werewolf action in this deck as well.
No,
Yep.
cubes.
And that is a rough hit.
Wow.
Thinking about what happened here. It's just
Yeah.
so rough.
That was
Because
good.
you know what's double zero? Is 0.
It really is every time. Sage, for instance. You take Sage, you can't Shadow King your own Sage because the only value you get out of Sage is the power. But you can Shadow King your own Toxin because maybe you just played Toxin to get cards in your hand. You don't need that power.
Say you had Sage down and you Toxin it back up because you just want to be able to play it again. Maybe there's Sage and one other card on there. Who cares if you're losing that 4 power because you're going to get so much more with a rocket. I think that's where the big brain bounce plays come in. You have to be really, really, really careful on how you're playing it. You're ordering, like we saw with Father Newman's clip. You really have to watch that ordering or you get bit in the butt because
Yep.
yeah. But KK also had an interesting gameplay that I think you will enjoy. So let's watch hers. So she's doing your traditional bounce. I still think Iceman is still so frustrating.
And I love this. Beast is already on the floor. And then there's this Green Goblin. You know,
Yep.
and so like as the opponent in before Toxin was out, like you see Beast Down throw the Green Goblin over, it's safe, but no, we got Toxin here to pick that right back up. That's a lot of power, right?
Yep. Not only does it get the goblin out of your lane, you get the 2 power from it. So they just powered up your card. So it's also important to think about, okay, is this a clog deck? Do I play Toxin now? Do I hold it to see if I can yeet that out of my board?
Bounces constant decision making.
So much decision making, so much mental processing. It is so difficult, but it's when it pays, when it works so well. But it's just a matter of how can you plan best to do that? That is the ultimate question is, do you have the brain power? And I don't know how most of the people do it on stream. When I'm streaming, I'm already having to manage a whole bunch of stuff. To try and toss in something like bounce on top of that is like, good Lord. But when it works, oh man, it works so well. And for our last clip from Gregor, a fantastic player, and he got to go up against Arisham. I don't know about you. Maybe it's just me, but I'm kind of getting tired of Arisham. Maybe you'll appreciate this a little bit.
Be able to do all of this.
So he's doing the Agent Venom version, which I think is another smart play. But man, that is the nice thing about bounce is just flooding the crap out of the board that last turn, everything down.
Be a bigger bang for our buck.
And I love that Sage variant too.
And then send it.
And that Hit Monkey's already been played before,
Yep.
you know, so it's just getting bigger.
And he's actually playing the Elsa. Well, the Elsa was a Camp Lehigh card. Hey, guess she actually has value.
We don't got him left side.
That's a smart play, pulling the hood back up.
Side.
Right.
He even won the left side too. And that was losing a 5 power beast.
Thank you for playing.
Another
all
bacon,
of
egg,
them
and
in
cheese.
it. Oh my goodness, very nice.
Yep.
8 cube breakfast.
That is a tasty, tasty breakfast. Just looking at the board state, the fact that even though he didn't get a hit with that rocket, he still ended up winning that lane. But that's it. Like, you are going to be in situations where, yes, Toxin is going to be a worthwhile card to have in your arsenal, but just be patient. Let's see how it pans out. No matter which way you slice it, it's going to be easier and cheaper to get it now than it will later, because being a Series 5 card, you are much less likely. If you don't have a ton of cards, if you are a relatively low CL player, you are more likely to get a Series 4 card in that mystery slot. And we don't know when Toxin's going to be back in.
Like I said, the OTAs, the patches, Marvel Snap changes all the time. And they've shown in the past that if a card misses the mark and is a little bit under when it releases from where they wanted it, they'll do something. They'll bump it up. And I think they just recently announced bumping up a card before it was released. So
That's
Marvel
correct.
Snap is always trying to make these cards fun, enjoyable, part of the meta, maybe not this month's meta, maybe next month's meta.
Time
Does
will
it
tell,
spark
right?
joy for you? And will
Yeah.
it become a meta breaker? All those things are time for tell. It's really just about, do you out there want to have
Exactly.
Toxin or not?
Thank you, everyone, for being here today. Thank you, Jeese, for doing this again with me. Please feel free to follow us, like, subscribe. The decks from these are going to be down below in the comments. Feel free to share your coolest decks or your coolest Toxin gameplay. We would love to see it. So if you do get this card, how can you best utilize it? Or if you got it and you've done terribly at it and are good at bounce, let us know so that people will have an idea. That is it for today. We will see you in the next video. Jeese, do you remember what the next card is?
Jack of Spades.
Perfect. We will see you potentially next week. Thank you all. Have a good one.